What's up, y'all? It's your girl KB,
Raffine here.
and welcome not to the podcast, but to week 2, mission 9 of the Friendship Challenge. We have a special guest joining us today for this mission, and her name is Raffine. Raffine, say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
They're probably happy to hear your voice because every day I come with a mission, and they might at this point be like, this girl, my goodness. I promise y'all are going to enjoy today's mission because today Raffine and I are going to talk about our friendship challenge. We are going to talk about what it looked like for us to go deep in a very short amount of time in our original season of meetings. So today's mission, should you choose to accept it, is to listen to this podcast, and at the end of it, debrief, and when you finish, answer the questions on the worksheet attached to this mission. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So let me tell y'all who Raffine is to me. Raffine is my best friend. She's my ace. She is one of the most important people to me in my life. She has walked with me through some foolishness. She has been there in the high times. I mean, she helped me deliver my kid. I say all the time, Amari would not be here had it not been for her. She would still be in my belly.
Oh my gosh. She would not be in your belly 2 years later.
Listen, she wasn't coming out had you not been there to talk a girl through a situation. Listen, because that pregnancy and delivery situation was something else. No, but Raffine does mean a whole lot to me. We've known each other for about 10 years now, which is crazy to even think of. And yeah, I love her so much. And so our relationship has experienced a series, though, of ups and downs. It has not been like this idea of love at first sight and we're just like besties forever. And like, nah. It's been everything far from that. So I will let her start. How did we meet?
So we met through a mutual friend at the time. And when I first met Kristen, I was just kind of like, all right, hey, one block. And it really wasn't about you. I was not fired up really about meeting many people. So I had friends in my life. I was in college at that point. They're like, oh, I want you to meet so-and-so. And I'd be like, all right, hey. But for me, that didn't equal like we gonna be friends or we gonna be talking. And I actually told Kristen that, KB, whatever y'all call her. I told her that, like, I mean, you can friend me on Facebook, but I ain't gonna be like in your inbox or nothing.
Oh my gosh! Just listen. We probably have people in the challenge who are resonating with you right now. People are like, "Yeah, that's me." Actually, like, I'm not here for all of this. Catch me on a good day, but on my everyday kind of average, I'm good. I'm straight. I know who I know. I like who I like. I'm not interested in meeting any new people. If that's you, don't raise your hand. You continue, Raffine.
So we met. She spent the weekend in Dallas, or maybe a few days, and she went back home, and I was at home being friends with our mutual friends, and didn't talk again until right before the summer of that year. So this was like maybe springtime, probably March or so. And then in late May, maybe early June, I was going on a summer mission in Indianapolis, which is where you were also going to be. And you were one of 2 people that I knew that was going to be at this summer project.
So then she decided to reach out and to be friendly.
I don't know. I would say I was friendly. I probably still was like, "Hey, girl, I got accepted. FYI, I'm gonna be there."
Oh my goodness! Listen, when we first met, I had never met someone so standoffish. Like, she was just very like hi, like cordial, but you could just tell she had no interest in like really in small talk or like getting to know you. Like, it was kind of like, I'm over here in my world doing my thing. You stay over there in your world doing your thing. Yes, we know this mutual friend, but like, that's about it. And I'm like, my goodness, like I had just never met anyone like that. And that's completely different from like how I am naturally, you know? And so maybe some of you guys who are doing the challenge, that's you. You're on the other side of the spectrum where you're like, oh, can't have enough friends. Like, don't know a stranger. That's what Rough Nick tells me all the time. She's like, you don't know a stranger. Like, I just love to meet people, love to get to know folks, don't have a quota. Like, I'm just, that's just kind of me. If that's you, don't raise your hand. And so, yes, we get to this summer project, and it's pretty much like a 6 to 8 week experience where we do music and we're in a band and there's touring involved and sharing of stories and like helping to build communities and, you know, people and it just all kinds of really cool stuff in the name of sharing our faith with people. And so we have this incredible experience, and very quickly within that short amount of time, I think we were probably connected at the hip by the time it was over. Like literally, like we we engaged every day, like we talked every day. Raphne probably knew my whole like life before I left that summer project because I had divulged so much in such a short amount of time. A lot of the aspects of, you know, the friendship challenge have to do with being vulnerable and transparent and sharing things that just you might not naturally share, not because necessarily you don't want to, maybe because you don't want to, but also because you might not think to do that. And the space that we were in for those weeks really cultivated like space and a culture for people to like share and be transparent and vulnerable about their stories, about their history, about insecurities, like fears, like, but also like dreams and passions. And it was just like this really deep bond that I think was forged very quickly. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. It
And
was
so,
unlike anything else I had experienced.
yeah, how was that for you, being that you weren't really trying to do people?
It was weird for a while, honestly, because again, we're at this mission. I mean, we're at this project because the goal is to share our faith through music. And I mean, I went into this thing like, oh, I don't do people. You know, I got about 3 friends. I'm good on that. Life is wonderful. And came out of this place realizing, like, oh, I do people. I just don't do people in large doses. And I get drained easily from being around a lot of people. So it kind of changed my perspective about some of the things that I believe to be true about me, which weren't all wrong. I think some of them were just a little distorted about how I felt about other people and building relationships and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll fast forward a little bit because we've got not 10 years to cover because we're not about to cover all 10 years. But fast forward to the end of the summer project, Raffine actually decides to stay an additional week so that we could just like kick it, hang, and build. And even in that like short time together, I feel like, again, like the bond was just like forged, the closeness was developed, and like I guess it was just really good just again to be able to talk and to build without the restraint of like having to do what we were responsible to do on project, but just to kind of enjoy like one another and get to know one another. And so when we left that space and she went back to Texas and there was just all these miles between us, um, there was this aspect of like what would it look like to continue to build this relationship. Have y'all ever heard the term called a vulnerability hangover? Like, have you ever heard of that
I'm going
term
to answer for the people and say no. I
Okay.
can deduce what it is using
Okay.
my brain cells, but
So one of my friends uses that word, that phrase a lot. I want to say she got it from Brene Brown. I'm not actually sure where it came from, but whenever she uses it, it's this idea that, oh my goodness, I've been so vulnerable. I've shared so much. I put so much of myself out there, right? I feel so exposed that the very next day or after some time has passed, there's this feeling of like, I can't believe that like I shared all of that. And it's usually followed by this like isolation, withdrawal, like I need to just pull away and be by myself for a little bit because I feel like I've shared too much, right? I've overshared or I've just been way too vulnerable. And it just makes me not want to do anything. Like I'm gonna just stay in the bed all day and like try to disappear, and that kind of thing. And so I think easily there could have been space for that after being so intentional, like on such a deep level in such a short amount of time, uh, for that space to be created, us to go back home and then feel like, oh goodness, that was a lot, and I'm never going to see this person again, and this is not going to be able to be maintained, and so maybe I made the wrong choice or whatever. But that wasn't us. I think what we tried to do in light of the distance was to try to maintain what we could, via the apps that we had at the time. So can you kind of just describe what that looked like in that season?
So it was a lot of video chatting through an app we had. We talked on the phone quite a bit, mainly because I was not working when I first went back to Dallas. And so I just had a lot of free time. And you were working ish, trying to raise money, but probably didn't need to be on the phone as much as we were. But anyway, nonetheless, we did a lot of phone conversations, video chats, and sometimes it wasn't even like we're actually talking. We may have just been on the video and doing other things, just feeling as if we're in the same space, because I think there was just this shift and dynamic change of, oh, we're not in the same space, and so this is different, and what does our friendship look like when we're actually back at home and living our lives? And who would have imagined that we weren't really living our lives? Because for me, that was not the norm, to not be working. So things again shifted when I went back to work, because I was less available and wasn't able to talk on the phone all day and text all day. And so just trying to, I think, figure out, how do we still build our friendship, but also not feel the pressure of it to have to be what it was at Summer Project, which I think took some figuring out, and being okay with the fact that, hey, this is not going to be what it was at Project, just because we're not physically at Project anymore, but we're not physically in the same space, and we're doing different things in our life. Like, we're back to, what comes to mind is back to life, back to reality. And so
Yeah, for sure.
trying to figure out, what does that mean? How do we be friends in day-to-day real life, not in the bubble?
Yeah, for sure. Everything that you said just has triggered so many memories. I think one of the things that you kind of explained is that we had to learn like what our friendship would look like as a result of not being in that same space. I think initially after Summer Project, there wasn't an intentional pursuit of that. It was, we wanted to maintain as much of what we had in our regular everyday lives, which is why we talked so much and why we video chatted and did all that stuff. But then once that became more unrealistic, and like Rafney said, like she got a job and things kind of shifted, and it just became like, hey, we can't maintain on this level. Those conversations had to be had, but they weren't had like on the front end. They were had reactively. Like something would happen, somebody would be mad, there would be these unspoken expectations, disappointment would be felt, and then it's like, okay, we have to talk about this, right? I think a lot of times we see that happening in friendships, right, where people are friends in college, or they're friends, they grew up together, or they've just shared a specific season in life where this person is super significant, and then something shifts and changes, and they either don't talk about it and try to maintain what they had before, and then there's disappointment and failed expectations and all that stuff, or they do try to talk about it, but then they don't like the change if they don't talk about that, and then it's like things just kind of fall apart, things kind of dissipate, the distance becomes greater and greater, the times between the frequency with which we talk gets wider. And so yeah, I agree with everything you said. I just wanted the people to know that we're only as intentional as we are now when it comes to relationships and having conversations, because we've experienced the effects of not being intentional, not being proactive, only being reactive in friendship. So that was one huge life change. I think another huge life change was me getting married. So, because I've been married 7 years of the 10, so I think that was a huge that was a huge shift. How was that for you?
It was awful and exciting. It it was, and I used those two extremes because I was very excited, but I was also very, very sad and like, womp womp womp, my friend is going away. And Kristen oftentimes would try to, I think, leading up to marriage, I think she tried to do things to ensure that I knew that I was still going to be her friend, and trying to make me more connected with her husband. And she started referring to him as my brother. And I was like, I mean, I don't really know him. And so I I had a hard time leading up to you getting married, just because I had in my mind this idea of what was about to happen, and I
What was
felt I
that?
needed to prepare myself. What was
What was
about to
that?
happen was about to be, it was going to be like when your friend get a boo and she just drop off the face of the earth, but you was going to
Okay.
be a married boo. And so
Mm.
it was gonna be like, it's not just her boyfriend, it's like her husband, so I can't like really be big mad, because they about to be together like for a long time. And so I I just I started preparing myself, and we had some conversations about it, but I was just like, you know as much as I'm trying to prepare myself, we're really not gonna know what it is until we get in it, because that's just the reality. And so after you got married, my goal was to let you be a married person and not call you for a while, and let you call me when you had time. Because I had friends that were married. And so some of my friends that were married, like, we'd be on the phone and like the garage go up and it's like, girl, I got to go. He home. Uh, so, and then I had other friends that, were married, and like he'd come home and he'd be like, hey babe, I'm talking to Renee. And they'd be like, hey, Renee in the background, but we keep on conversation. I was like, Kristen gonna be that girl that's like, girl, I got to go. My man's here. I need to make dinner. Like,
This is the
I'm
thing. I
trying
just
to
need to
stay
stop you
married.
because I don't understand why you thought that was the case, because I was not like that in my dating process. Like y'all,
Well, but y'all were
he
already dating when I became your friend.
were we?
Yeah, I met him at summer projects, but he was already your boyfriend.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I listen. Yeah, I guess you weren't really too much a part of that part of the process. I don't know, but
Yeah, I was
in
on
my
the
mind, I'm like,
engagement side
I
more.
wasn't that girl while we were dating, so I don't understand why I would become that girl when I got married. But okay, continue.
Well, but y'all were long distance, and so that was a whole nother dynamic. It was like y'all gonna be in each other's face, and y'all be like, "Ooh, time together. We ain't had this. Boo, boo, booed up." Uh,
Okay.
so anyway, so I kind of was trying to prepare myself. So I didn't call for a while because I was just like, I don't know when it's okay to call, when it's not okay to call. I think we had a text, maybe one or two texts while you were away on your honeymoon, and so then I think at some point I just was like, I don't know what this is going to be, so we just going to see. And so over time, we just started having conversations about like, how do you feel about our relationship? And you probably initiated it because I just kind of sit back and just like, let me see what's going to unfold. But
Mm-hmm.
just conversations like, how do you feel about our relationship? Do you feel very loved? And this. And I'm just like, I mean, it's fine. It's a new thing. So I don't know how to quantify that because it's different. It's another change and another shift. And I think it's still changing and evolving. I think it will forever continue to change and evolve. And not just because like you're married and now have a child, but just because like life is just different. Life is different for you. Life is different for me. I have things going. So it's not just about changes in your life. It's also changes that are going on in my life that
Mm-hmm.
lend themselves to changes and less availability, or a change in priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And changing priorities equal just like the stuff that I give my energy and my time to changes, and it doesn't diminish how I feel about you or the love or the care that I have or that I believe that you have for me. It's just kind of, it's different. And I think what's really been key has been about things when they change, and not
Yeah.
hovering over the other person's head that it's different. And I think early on, like after summer project, that was an area of tension, especially for me, because I I am, well, am I about to lie? I don't think so. So I was not. I was trying to figure out, should I say was or am not? Like, is this stuff still current or past tense? But I think it's past tense with some, it might pop up here and there. But I do not have a natural bend in the past, or did not have a natural bend to, let's talk about the stuff that's bothering me or on my mind, because I was always the friend that listened to other people. So I didn't have a lot of experience with people wanting to hear about what was going on with me and how I was feeling about things. Um, Also, I just had a lot of guards up because of hurt in friendship. So consequently, I wasn't the person that was initiating, like, let's have these conversations. I would just be feeling stuff and not
Mm-hmm.
always aware of
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I was feeling stuff. Sometimes it was just kind of like, something's happening. I don't know what, but whatever. And so it would take us having a conversation to say, how you feeling about this? What's going on? Are you mad? And, being like, nah, I ain't mad. Stop asking me that.
So let me just chime in here, because you said lots of things that I just are like so key, and I'm like, I've got to get. Hopefully, my memory will do right right now as I'm trying to recall. But I agree with the life shifts not just being one sided, and not just being marriage and motherhood, but like the change in priority, like Raffinay said. Like, Raffinay is a priority individual. Like, she only does what she wants to do. I mean, I believe that is true of everyone, but she for real only does what she wants to do. And if her priorities have changed, and I have seen that even in our friendship, the priority of our friendship has changed, because she's gotten like more intentional with other friends, like other friend circles, or like she's got goals. She's working on stuff in a certain season, like whatever it may be. She very much so, like, does not have a problem with like shifting her energy. The only thing that is frustrating, I think, on my side is that she does not make that announcement. So to her point, I am, constantly asking these questions like, hey, how you doing? Like, I know this has changed. I know this is different. Like, how you feel about it? Like, I'm the very like, hey, let me ask. If I know to ask. If I don't know, then I'm completely oblivious. But when I do know, I try to ask. I try to be intentional about what I know. And Raffinay won't necessarily do that. So I'll notice a shift. I'll notice a change. And then it'll be like, wait a minute, is something different? Did I not get the memo that we not talking once a month? Like, that we not, like, I don't understand. Like what's happening right now? And then that can, trigger, an insecurity in me, or make me feel like, oh, Father, like I didn't offended her and she didn't shut down on me. Because that was a thing in certain seasons where, if she would shut down, she would not, like she said, be as proactive about, saying like, hey, you hurt me in this, or this is what's going on in me. Sometimes because she didn't know, and then other times because she just wasn't trying to be in a conversation. And again,
Correct.
and
Too
again,
busy.
she does what she wants. And so I don't know how many of you guys again resonate with that, or if some of you feel like, oh, I have friends that are just stubborn like that. Like, and I'm gonna call her stubborn because I think she's stubborn. But it's also a part of what I enjoy of her in other areas. And so yeah, like, I just wanted to speak to that. Like, the priority thing is very real. Getting new friendships and processing like those seasons with your friends. Like, you can be intentional with a new friend, and all your other friends feel like they've been put on the back burner. Because starting a new thing, building a new thing does take a little more intentionality and work. And then there's usually like a lot of excitement on the front end of a new friendship. So you feel a little bit consumed, and like you're investing a lot of time there, and then your friends who've been around for a long time can feel like, oh, so you can't call anymore, or I'm not as exciting anymore. Like, there's those dynamics. Um and so yeah, like, I think um I'm glad that you highlighted that it's not always just marriage and motherhood, and maybe a new job. Like, there are just, again, a difference in priority from season to season, but those things require conversations. That's what I've learned over the years, is that conversations do have to be had. And whether it's your bent to have the conversation or not, they still need to be had. in a way where both people can be on the same page and know what to expect moving forward, because y'all are mind readers, you know. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I had horrible expectations of Raffinay in different seasons where I just expected her to know how I felt about something. Like I would be upset if she, you know, wouldn't ask questions, you know, like if I was kind of prying and digging into what was going on with her, because usually Raffinay makes me dig. And so if I was doing that with her, I'm like, well, you should dig back. You know what I'm saying? Like she would not. Like, I mean, you couldn't put a shovel in that girl's hand. She was not. She was not gonna dig. And then when I would ask her, like, why aren't you asking me questions? Like, why aren't you asking me about how I'm doing? Why aren't you reciprocating it? I wanted that reciprocation. And she would say, well, because usually you just offer the information up. I don't have to ask nothing. And I was like,
Accurate.
I would be like, I mean, yes, I hear you. I usually do just dive right in. I don't need no prompts. I don't need no questions. I don't need anything. But I haven't, so you would think that you would ask a question, you know. But she was like, no, that's you making assumptions and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, Father.
And in my mind, that was, oh, she don't want to share today, which is different, but okay.
Listen, oh my goodness, that is that is just so funny to me. Yeah. So I I think we've talked a good chunk about the variety of seasons that we've had. I want to talk about seasons where we were at odds and that where there was like space and distance between us, where we weren't in our healthiest place, we weren't thriving in our friendship. Does anything stick out to you when I say that?
We were at odds.
Yeah, like not like I hate you, I don't want to talk to you, but just kind of like in seasons where we just aren't we aren't really kind of building. I think one season in particular. So at some okay, let me just back up. As she talks about my relationship with Mike and how I tried to bring her into that, you know, to help them kind of establish a friendship. To all that to say, Raffinay lived with us for 2 years when she moved out here, and um, it was just the sweetest thing, you know, like for me to have my best friend to be a part of my life in that way. Um, yeah, so there was that sense of closeness, but I also feel like I remember toward the was it the beginning of that season that I felt like I don't know, I just felt like there was the space because maybe you were processing like the new season and where you were like in your career, and then not really having a community of people here, you know, to build with. It was just kind of just us, you know. And like I don't know, I can just remember pockets of time in our you know span where we just weren't like flowing on all four cylinders, you know. Felt like a little bit of a strain, or like there was a pull. I think there was one season in particular I can remember where had told me specifically that you didn't. Was it that you didn't feel safe to share, or
I've said that before, so probably.
yeah, yeah. There were spaces where Raffinay has been honest about not feeling safe to share, and you could tell people why. You know, if you want, but just that I wasn't a safe place for her. Maybe because I was insensitive in my responses. I was coming off as judgmental. I was just being judgmental. Um, yeah, like we haven't. I just wanted to say, like, just for the record, like it hasn't always been the best, and I feel like space was created in those seasons. But I mean, is that accurate?
Yeah, I would agree. There definitely have been seasons and times when I didn't feel safe to share things that were going on in my world. I think your question about why is probably accurate. Part of it is feeling as if you were judgmental about maybe some of the things I had going on that you couldn't relate to or hadn't experienced. I I went through a spurt in my own life where I think I was distanced in a lot of relationships because I was struggling with like having this depressed mood, and it was odd for me having to deal with that and try to figure out what to do with that. And people in my life asking a lot of questions and feeling as if my answers weren't adequate enough because I couldn't quite explain what happened that was leading to it. It was just kind of like, this is just what it is. And I think another time when I noticed there was some I guess strain was when our mutual friend and I, Raffinay, went through a we not really being friends anymore transition. That was, I think, an interesting time, just because it was like, what's happening? Like, we've all been friends all this time, and now it's like Kristen talks to me, Kristen talks to the mutual friend, but Raffinay and the mutual friend don't really talk, and Raffinay and the mutual friend actually live together. So that was an interesting dynamic for a while, and something that I think took a while for you and you and me to actually discuss.
Oh yeah, it took a while to discuss because you wasn't trying to talk about it, and it took a while to discuss because I was fighting for it for so long. I was like, no, this cannot happen. This is not happening. Like, and I was trying to I just insisted that Raffinay reconsider. I was like, you need to reconsider how you're going about this. You need to just reconsider the choices you're making. You need to just reconsider. Like, because I think there was a part of me that was hurt in that process, like to see what was happen. And I was like, why can't we just reconcile this? Like, like in my brain from the outside looking in, I'm like, we should be able to work through this.
And I wasn't trying to hear all that. And I was like, if this is what we gonna be talking about when we on the phone, I don't want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Because
so then it started
there are other things going on in my world besides this.
Right.
Like,
right. But that to me, I just that was a very hard. It's even hard to think about. Like it's just a very
Father.
it's just a very hard season, man. When you are doing life with people and and people break up, whether it be you and a person or you watch two other people fall out or whatever, or mutually decide like, hey, this isn't productive, like we need to do something different. That is a difficult process, and rarely does it happen healthily. And I think there were healthy aspects to y'all's decision, and I think there were unhealthy aspects to y'all's decision, but I think it could just be difficult. And so yeah, I will admit that I did not make it easy for Raffinay, because I was constantly bringing it up or constantly trying to change her mind and make her be in a place that she wasn't in. Yeah.
And I think for me, it felt as if you were one-sided.
Yeah.
And not saying that I wanted you to be on my side as much as I didn't want to feel as if you were pushing her agenda onto me. And a lot of times that's how I felt. And I was just like, what else is happening in the world? Because this discussion is not going anywhere. Okay. If this is all we have to talk about, we should reconvene next week when more things have happened in our life.
Yeah, no, you're right. I did not do a good job of being gracious in that season, in having the wisdom and the maturity to know when to just back up, let it breathe, give it some time and some space. So yeah,
that was like case in point of trying to share with somebody that ain't open, and then they become more hardened to what you're trying to say. Totally. Yeah. Totally me.
For sure. Yeah. So I think it's important for me to be able to share these things with you as you are working through your friendship challenge, whether you're doing it with your old friend, new friend, best friend, coworker, or whether you're even doing it by yourself. I think it's important to hear the stories of others, because we can sometimes be consumed with our own journey and then lose hope or be discouraged or feel like, oh, friendships only happen this way or whatever. And so I thought it might be important for you to hear that this girl who's been leading you through this journey, coaching you through this journey, has also experienced several encounters in her friendships where intimacy has been built very deeply, or very quickly, sorry. Going deep with people has happened very quickly. And it's resulted in good times and bad times as a result of it, or high times and low times, difficult seasons and ones where you're just kind of riding on the heights of the earth. And so, um, yeah, this is just one of many friendships um, that I've had, but one of my most significant ones that have helped shape me into the person that I am today. And I put her through the ringer. I mean, because I've had so much maturing to do over the last 10 years, and she's been very patient with me. And even when she hasn't been patient, she's opted not to leave. So, where she used to be in the I Quit ministry, she used to be on the I Quit train. I'm out of here. But she
You used to try to quit too. Don't just put this all on me.
did I?
Yes, you told me a couple times. I just think it's gonna be best that we just
Wait,
not be friends. I was
first of
like, girl,
all,
if you don't get off this phone, go to bed, and wake up again tomorrow. Anyway, praise the Lord, I was in a place where I was like, trying to fight, and I'd be like,
that is true. No, you're absolutely right. I wasn't talking like that on the phone, first of all, but you're absolutely correct. I can remember distinct times I'm like, hey, this not gonna work. We can just go ahead and sew this up, and that would be the one time when she would speak up and say something. Every other time she'd leave me in the dark. But if I ever jumped off the cliff, she was like, wait a minute, hold on, chill out. We all right. Um, so yeah, but anyway, is there just one thing? Do you have any words of encouragement just for those who are listening? Because if you're listening to this specific podcast right now, that means that you are almost to the end of mission 9. Okay, and so are there any words of encouragement that you can give the people who are participating in the friendship challenge regarding the value of enduring or going deep or anything that you just think that it's important for them to know?
man, in this moment, I'm about to say something so crazy, and then I'm gonna get back on focus.
Okay.
I really wish I could have prepared for this in advance, because I would have done like a Beyonce mission now,
Wow.
but I didn't have any time to prepare that. So I was
Wow.
trying to think quick on my
Wow.
feet, and I had
Okay.
nothing.
Okay. Okay. For those of you
Yes.
who don't
They're
know,
gonna love this.
Rafinée stays in a song, a random song, all the
That's not
time.
random. You using mission. Come on, that's Give Me Body.
Okay.
Anyway, the Beyonce fans will resonate. They're gonna be like,
And
yes.
those who do not are going to be like, what is this?
Just look it up. Give Me Body.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Look up the Michelle Obama version. It's cleaner. Um. Anyway, back on mission. Uh,
I can't.
I'm gonna leave you with this.
Oh my goodness.
No, seriously. So, man, one piece of advice I would say, my word for you for today for Mission 9 is going to be persevere. I think that if you signed up to do this friendship challenge and you're doing it with a friend, or you're trying to learn more about how to be more intentional in your friendships, it's going to take perseverance. And that's not always comfortable. That may not always be your natural bend. You might be more like me, where you like, I know how to quit friendships. Or you might be like Kristen, where you like, man, all I do is persevere, and they just be like, I'm out of here. But I think that what I have found to be true in my own life is that it's worth it. And perseverance does require managing your expectations of the other person and being realistic and being open and honest. So it's not perseverance alone. I also just believe, though, it can be worth it, though, to have solid, lasting, deep friendships. And you're not weird because you desire deeper connections with other people. That's part of how you're wired just as a human being. We have a need for connectedness, to be loved, and to have this sense of belonging. We also have a need for separateness as well. But I just want you to know that it's not abnormal, that desire you have to be close, to have deep friendship and connection with somebody.
Mhm.
That is part of our normal experience. As much as you may try to deny it, if you're that person that's like, I'm good, I got 3 friends, like I was. That's part of just your makeup and your wiring as a human. So keep at it.
For sure. Good word. Good word. Well, I hope that all of you who are participating in the friendship challenge, that you are encouraged, that if you needed the affirmation to know that, intimacy and friendship was possible, that you got that from this. If you needed, somebody to tell you that you're absolutely normal, that if you want to quit the friendship that you're currently in, like, I hope that you got that listening to this. If you needed to hear, that desire is okay in friendship, that longing deeply for some friendship is normal. I hope that you got information, like from our story, because everything in society right now will tell you otherwise. And so, yeah, society's messaging to all of us when it comes to building intimately with one another says that it has to do with sexuality or a romance or getting booed up or being married. And I'm like, no, you could really just long for a deep intimacy with another person in the area of friendship, and that is okay, and that is normal, and that can be cultivated, and I honestly think that it's good to practice cultivating that type of intimacy in friendship, so that in the event that you do get into a romantic relationship and you do decide to get married, that you would have had some experience prior to that. I think that I brought a lot of intentionality into my marriage because I had been working on being so intentional in my friendships, and it has proven itself to be very beneficial in our marriage, and so all of that to say, I hope that this podcast encouraged you. There is a worksheet that is attached to this specific mission. And so right now, I want you to go and fill out the answers to those questions. And once you have, you would have completed mission number 9. Okay, you guys, until tomorrow, see you in the next mission.